like Dr. Vijaya said, that all your mentors are basically they are the people who will be guiding you through. But why we are here is because the basic fundamental part of the research you need to understand. Otherwise, in the Viva and in places you will be stuck, and then everything the guide, it will be difficult for the guide to speak to each individual and then making them understand. So a common platform like this we thought is essential, so that you will get a clear picture of the at least the points that the session is going to give you, and later you can use this in your reports and your research during the process. So please make your notes, and you can study further wherever you have certain things. You can ask your mentors otherwise also, and that's it. So yes, Vijay ma'am, you can continue.
Yeah. Can you all see my screen, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell what is research methodology only towards your project, how you are going to write about it, a brief introduction, and what towards your project. First of all, research methodology in brief. So that's what I am going to tell you. You people are already in this state only, like what to write, how to start, what to do, what not to do, like that and all. This session may be will maybe, and it will be definitely useful to you all in writing and going ahead with your research project. I just wanted to tell you, research refers to a search of knowledge. Research can be defined systematic and scientific search or investigation for pertinent information, knowledge, solution, or on a specific topic, subject, problem. This is an art of scientific investigation. Everything is scientific investigation, a careful investigation or inquiry, especially through a search of new facts in the branch, any branch of knowledge. That's what is that. Then research is thus the original contribution. Again, I am reiterating the fact, it is the original contribution. Why plagiarism is done? This is the reason. So it is the original contribution to an existing stock of knowledge. Your contribution is only original, but your fact, whatever that is, whatever you are going to do in the research, all those things are somebody done. For example, like I'm going to do what is happening in the month of May in the stock market. Already somebody would have done in some other stock market. I am going to do it in Indian stock market per se. So like that, everything would have been done by somebody. So that we are going to do in my original contribution way. That is what it is. Not that somebody didn't do research. I am doing a research work which has been done by somebody earlier, but I am going to give a new direction or new dimension to it. That's it. That's what we call it in research. It is finding the truth with the help of study, observation, comparison, and experiment. The search of knowledge through the objective and systematic method of finding a solution to a problem is research. That's all. I'm not going for the extra this one and all. Steps in research process: formulation of research topic, which you are all now at it. Then later, hypothesis, defining what one wishes to investigate. Ultimately, the researcher. So I'm using the word you, all the researcher. So what you want to investigate, what you wish to investigate. So for that investigation, you should gather data, you should analyze data, then you should interpret data, testing and revising the hypothesis and conclusion and all. Research process in the flow chart. First of all, you have to define your research problem, review of concepts and theories, formulate hypothesis, review of review of concepts and theories, review of previous research finding, then formulation of hypothesis, research design including sample design, collection of data, analysis of data, interpretation, and report. This is what we are going to do. Then you should be familiar with certain terminologies here. What are the types of research? What we have to do? This is for you especially. to gain familiarity with the phenomena or to achieve new insight into it as exploratory research or formulative research. You people will do first two things. You people will do descriptive research and exploratory research. Descriptive research is generally when you write about the research which you are all going to do. You will not use the term I. The researcher has undergone descriptive research and exploratory research. Descriptive research. What is meant by descriptive research? You all know what is meant by description. For example, now you are going to collect the data with, for example, Fair and Lovely cream. That's only for girls. So your people whom you are going to test is only girls. So you will say the age group of 10 or 15 to 20 that I am trying. That is the first description on the girls. And you can say, because who are all black, you may say that I have tried this in whatever may be the black people, something like that, and all. You can say that and all the description to portray the accurately the characteristics of particular individual situation or group. That is descriptive. This is compulsory to everybody. Everybody, you will say, I have collected the data of 30 or 50 or 60, 70. That is first description. After that, out of that, this many girls, this many boys, this many female, this many male, like that and all. You will again describe that. After that only you will go for it. And what is the age group? What is the income group? Like that and all. You will definitely describe that part of it. That is descriptive research. Anyway, if time permits, I'll tell you how to do the descriptive research also in Excel sheet. Very easy. It is we can do it, the descriptive research, and it is mandatory to everybody to do the descriptive research also. After which you have to do the exploratory research, like whatever is the phenomena which you are taking, whatever is the new insight which you want to find out, new dimensions which you have to give, that is exploratory or formulative research. These two things are very much essential. Diagnostic, at your level, we don't certain cases only it requires diagnostic research and all, and you have to do hypothesis testing research. 1, 2, 4 is very much mandatory and very much essential to you all. You will do a if somebody asks you what type of research you have done it during your internship, the first question is, we have done the descriptive along with the exploratory and hypothesis testing research. Like that you have to give the answer when you are facing the interview and all. So that is the reason that I am telling. Descriptive means also what is meant by descriptive, that and all I have covered. Then the testing of hypothesis for the causal relationship, cause and effect relationship. This part would be dealt by Professor Preeti. Anyway, all those things these are all the types of research that you have to know. Regardless of the simplicity or complexity of your research project, you will benefit by reviewing the following 7 steps of the marketing research process, or any research process for that matter. First thing is, you have to define the problem. Anything is, first of all, what is your problem in that? You are trying to launch a new product or service. So first problem is awareness of your company and its product and the services is low. The market is familiar with your company, but still you are not doing business with you. Why? All those things are your problem. Why, what, when, how? Your company has a poor image or reputation. That is also one of the problem. Then your goods and services are not reaching the buying public in the timely manner. All these things are problem. So you have to identify that problem, and from the problem only what you then only you have to formulate your objective, etc., etc. So first thing is setting the objective. First thing is formulation of problem. Step 2 is setting up the objective, budget, and timelines. So first is I told you, first step is identifying the problem. How do you write a problem statement? It should be, I told you, it is a statement. Problem statement. Statement means only one full sentence. In that sentence, what and all will it comprise of? What and all will it comprise of? That's a thing that we have to do. An effective problem statement is concise. It should be short, sweet, crisp, smart as you people are on today's world. So first one is put the problem in context. What do we already know? What do we already know? Then second one is precise the issue. What do we need to know? What I should know? What I know? What I need to know? Why do we need to know? Why I should know? What do you found out of it? These are all the four things when you are stating a problem. For that itself, I request all of you to spend around 60 full minutes, 60 full minutes to write one sentence. Generally, my guide used to tell me when I was doing my PhD, he used to tell me, for your problem statement, Vijaya, you have to spend 2 to 3 days. You crystallize your problem statement. He used to use, whenever I use some words and no, still you have to crystallize. Still you have to concise. Still you have to concrete. Like that and all, he used to use those words and he used to tell. For you people, since it is a 2 months, for us and all, it is 3 years and 4 years. We want 3 or 4, 5 days to just write one statement. But since it is 2 months for you, I expect you to spend at least 1 full hour in making this problem statement. I have given the example also how to write the problem statement also. Like while you are writing your problem statement, what concerns you, what bothers you, what disturbs you, what makes you not to sleep, what irritates you, that is your problem. No, whenever we are having array, what is this? I don't know. That should concern you. That should bother you. All those things are. It's a logical statement with structure, sequence, substance, and rationale. Your logical statement should comprise us of all those things. What and all it should comprise? What, where, when, why, and how. It sets the right tone for your research aim, objectives, hypothesis design, and method. It is a focal point of all research. A good problem statement is just one sentence, but with several paragraphs of elaboration. For example, I have given one problem statement. I'll answer here. The frequency of job layoff is creating fear, anxiety, a loss of productivity in the middle management workers. This is my problem statement. What is my problem? The frequency of job layoff. Where? In particular company, wherever company, whichever company that you are doing. I have not given that company's name, but you will write in this particular company. When? During the COVID period, that you will write. Why it is creating? Because of the fear and anxiety. And how it is being affected? Because of the loss of productivity. So this one statement, the frequency of job layoff is creating fear, anxiety, and a loss of productivity in middle management workers. All these things should be definitely. First, you have to write the problem statement. When you are writing your research design and all, statement of problem statement, that should be. You start thinking for 1 hour and crystallize it and you write it. This is the example I have given. If time permits, or else your guides are the best people, they will tell you, madam, this is my problem, how should I write it, how should I go about it. They will guide you very well than us. So take their help also in crystallizing your problem and how it has to be written. Because what is your problem statement? First question is, what is your type of research? What is your problem statement? That would be your second question when you are sitting for the interview. That time, that one problem statement only will give answers to them. So we are expecting you to crystallize your problem and we wish you to write it very nicely. Then apart from your problem itself, you have to write your objectives. I don't expect you all to write, we don't expect you all to write 10 objectives, 12 objectives and all. We expect at MBA level 5 and BBA level 4. That's all. 5 and 4 objectives are the ideal objectives which we want. But while you are writing your objectives, there are some do's and there are some don'ts. What are the do's? Words acceptable in writing those things are to examine. You will write your 5 five research objective by starting with these lines only. Any of these things: to examine, to analyze, to determine, to explore, to evaluate, to access, to estimate, to identify, to compare, to establish. Then, ma'am, you have told words which are acceptable, but there are some words which are not acceptable also. Why it is not acceptable, you know the very reason when I am showing all those words itself. The words to avoid is to find. Already you are writing a research work here, you will find out. To study, yes, you are studying it. To understand this, to know, to explain, all those things are, you are not in that LKG level or UKG level that you will write to find out, to study, to understand. These are all the words we expect when the papers are getting published, because later also we want you all to convert that into a paper. So that time also, if you use these words and all, there is a large charges of your rejection. So please avoid these words: to find, to study, to understand, to know, to explain, all those words and all, try to avoid it. Then objectives and implications. How you write an objective statement: to examine. When you are writing the word to examine, what is the need? What is the reason? To analyze what you want to cause and the impact. To establish a relationship pattern. To measure the impact or effect. Use the action words. A wording determine your research design. See, now you are going to do the research design. There I am talking about all those things. You know now how to write your problem statement. You know now how to write your objectives and how to use it, where to use it, and what are the words to use it, what are the words that you should not use it. That also we are telling. Then the third step is select the research types, methods, and techniques. There are two types of research which are available to you. One is, everybody know, primary research is the original information gathered for the specific purpose. Secondary research is the information that already exists somewhere. So what type of research that you want to do? Most of you are interested in writing questionnaire and other things. Anyway, I will try to complete it, all those things mostly, but still, what is secondary research? Secondary research is faster and less expensive than the primary research. Gathering the secondary research may be as simple as making a trip to your local library or business information center or browsing the internet. It utilizes information which has already been published, example surveys, books, magazine, etc., etc. Then secondary research are localized figures, provide the better information, or local condition might buck the national strengths. Yeah, just now I also told I will be doing it NSC and BSc, which is a local for me, local news for me, local channel for me, and to get the information and all. So many secondary research material are available. It can be found in library, colleges, trade, general business publications and newspapers, trade association and government agencies. Rich sources of information for us and all prowess, for all finance people and all prowess, and the CMIE are the resource sources from where we will get it. Then example, an article may show how much working mothers spent on convenience foods last year. What is that convenience food? You may say it fast food, or you may say pre-cooked, or anything. You have to just come and do it. If you are thinking about selling a convenience food, this information would show what kind of market there is convenience for food. It does not show how much they are willing to spend on your particular product. That is the thing. So these are all the things that we are all talking about it. Then what is primary research? In primary research, that you have to go, you have to meet your customer, you have to ask him him or her, what is their personal feeling and how do they react on certain conditions, and all those things and all you have to know. Primary research can be simple as asking customers or suppliers how do they feel about a business, or complex as services conducted by professional marketing research firm. Examples of primary research, direct mail questionnaire, online or telephone survey, experiment, panel studies, test marketing, behavior observation, etc., etc. Then primary research are divided into reactive and non-reactive research. Non-reactive research just observes how real people behave in the real market situation without influencing the behavior. But reactive research, it includes the surveys, interviews, questionnaires. This research is best left to marketing professionals, as they usually can get more objectives and sophisticated result. Primary research, those who can't afford high priced marketing research services should consider asking the nearby college or university business schools for the help. Then apart from that, I have given even next slides and all on research design and research instrument. The most common research instrument is the questionnaire. About questionnaire only, I have given to you some types of it and all in the slides to follow. In after some time, you will be coming to know about that also. Keep these tips in mind when you are designing your market research questionnaire. Keep it simple. Include instruction for answering all the question. Begin the survey with general question. That's what I was talking about, descriptive research. General question and move towards the specific question. General question are, don't ask anybody's name. We are not bothered about anybody's name. But still, generally, we will start name of the candidate, because you want to make him very free about your research and all. So when you want to make it very free, so name of the candidate or name of the person, first question. Next one is, second one is, you want to make him comfortable. Directly you will not jump into the what is your opinion, tera toothpaste mein namak hai kya, like that. You cannot go and ask anybody. So you will ask, oh sir, what's your name, what's your age, what is your age, or what is your occupation, what is your income. That also you will not ask your specific income. You will give the bracket from this end to that end and all. So to make him more comfortable, ask general question, then go for the particular question. This is how you have to prepare your questionnaire, and definitely you will have to write it. This questionnaire, whatever I have prepared, this is for the purpose of my research project. More than that, I am not going to use it anywhere. Like that, you have to give your, even you have to write the purpose for which that you are collecting the data. That also you have to give, and you have to thank the respondent also. All those things and all, your research guide will definitely guide you in doing all those things. Then design a questionnaire that is graphically pleasing and easy to read. Yeah, after that, that portion will come. Then before printing the survey, ask a few people to complete the survey and give the feedback. This is very, very important. Why you are asking? Before printing the survey, ask few people. That people will suggest you. Your near and dear will suggest you. It is like a pilot survey. They only will suggest you. No, yeah, this question is very diplomatic. This question and all, people will not answer this question and all. Please do some more correction. Please do these things, because people will not be comfortable in answering these questions. So before printing the survey, ask a few people to complete the survey and give feedback. Mix the form of question from different section of questionnaire: scales, ranking, open-ended question, and closed-ended question. Anyway, I'm just going to speak about scales, open-ended question, and closed-ended question and all. A few things which will be useful only to you all. Other than that, it will not be used. Then the form or very question asked may influence the given questions. May influence. Questions are of two forms. One is closed-ended question and open-ended questions. So the scales, what are the scales that I have given? The level of measurement refers to the relationship among the values that are assigned to attributes, feelings, or options for a variable. What is a variable? Variable may be anything, whatever attributes that you are going to do. On that variable only, you will have to measure the scale. That's measuring of the scale is of 4 types: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, ratio scale. I am not going to talk about all the scales to you. I'll be talking about nominal scale because gender is the best example for the nominal scale, and I'll be talking about another scale which is a Likert scale, which comes in in interval scale or ordinal scale, like that will be discussed to you in detail. Other scales and all I am not going to discuss because it is not relevant to you at this level. So first one is I am going to talk about nominal scale. It is the crudest among all the measurement scale, but also a simplest scale. In this scale, the different scores of the measurement simply indicate the different category, only category. We call it male category or female category. Only distinguish students who are going to college, who are not going to college. Only different categories it will be decided. So that is very much useful to you. So some categories, some of your questions and all will be in nominal scale, labeling men as 1 and women as 2, which is most common way of labeling the gender for data recording purpose, and does not mean women are twice or other than men, nor does it suggest men are better than women. Just it tells 1, 2 indicates women and men. It does not indicate anything other than that. Next one I said about Likert scale. It is the one of the most popular for you people and all. You will be using Likert scale only for measuring the attitude because the method is simple to administer. With the Likert, somebody call it Likert, somebody call it Likert. You also, proper noun can be called in any way. You just call it in the way you want. The respondent indicate their own attitude by checking his how strongly they agree or disagree with carefully worded statement that range from very positive to a very negative, that attitudinal object. Respondents generally choose from the 5 alternatives. Say strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, strongly disagree. A Likert scale may include a number of item statements. Disadvantage of Likert scale is that it takes longer time to complete than itemized rating scales because respondents have to read each and every statement. Despite the above disadvantages, this scale has several advantages. It is easy to construct, administer, and use. Let me give you some examples about it. If the price of the raw material fall, the firm too should reduce the price of the goods. Strongly agree, neither agree, like that. There should be a uniform price through which the country for the food products. That is again they have told the food should concentrate more on keeping hygiene while manufacturing food products. The expiry date should be printed on the food products before they are delivered to the consumer in the market. There should be government regulation on the firms by keeping acceptable quality on the price. Nowadays, most of the food companies are concerned only with profit making rather than care of quality. See, these are all the things, and I have given the 5-point Likert scale also. This is how the Likert scale, and most of you will use Likert scale for your for your primary research and all. Then I would like to focus a little attention what is meant by closed-ended question and open-ended question, because you will be framing questionnaires. Most of the marketing people will be framing questionnaires and all. Types of closed-ended question. Closed-ended questions are multiple choice question like yes or no question. For that and all, you call it closed-ended. Yes means yes, no means no. Again, you cannot ask for further question. Scales refer to the questions that ask the respondent to rank their answers also. That's what we have seen now. 5-point Likert scale we have seen. Open-ended question. What is open-ended question then? Open-ended questions, word association question, ask the respondent to state the first word that comes to their mind when a particular word is mentioned. For example, a question might read, when I eat toast and jelly, I use dash brand, Kisan brand of jelly, what jam. that and all will come to you. So that may be somebody will write Kisan, somebody will write Nissan, somebody will write Maggie, whatever it may be. So that's an open-ended question, and it is usually cost about dash per jar. So you know when you are purchasing, this is the open-ended question. I have given questionnaires and all, what is required only to you, that much I have given. Then the step-wise collection of data, like how many respondent from you whom you are all collecting. It may be minimum 30, maximum how much ever you can collect, that you can collect it and do it. That is about your collection of data to obtain clear, unbiased, reliable result. For unbiased and reliable result, I will tell you how you have to collect the data, also how the sampling is to be collected. That I'll speak after some time. Then before beginning the data collection, you must train, educate and supervise your research staff. If you are taking some help from somebody, that one. Untrained staff conducting primary research will lead to interview bias. That's what they are telling. Then stick to objectives. Please, all of you stick to the objectives and the rules associated with the methods that you have set in step 2 and step 3. Be as a scientific, always be as scientific as possible in gathering the information. Next, organize and analyze the data. That is how you are going to do this. Also, I have given how you have to do it in the slides to follow, that you have to do it. And then the last one is the present and use of the market findings. This also I'm just running through it because already it is, I have given only 45 minutes of time. I don't want to be late for a long time. I'm just focusing on research methodology a little. Research design, you have seen population and sample. There I'll be doing, and sampling technique a little I'll be doing it to you. First of all, the method of sampling. Why sampling? Because we cannot collect a large population. If at all you have to see the weight of all the biscuits packets and all, you will not open all the biscuit packet and you will randomly pick and do it. So that sort of method is called sampling method. If you are doing it on the entire biscuits, it is population, but we will not do it. We will do it only generally through sampling. Why we will do a sampling? To have a high level of confidence that the sample represents the population, it is necessary that the sample is unbiased and sufficiently large. So we will do it that one. It was scientifically proved that if we increase the sample size, we shall be much closer to the characteristics of the population. So increase the sample size. That's what I just would like to say. The sampling methods are basically divided into random sampling method or non-random sampling method. I will just say the name of random sampling method. I will not go into the detail of it, but non-random sampling method, I will be going in detail because that is the method that you all will be following in your research. So this is simple random, systematic random, stratified random, cluster, multi-stage sampling. This I will not go in detail of it, but I'll be going for non-random sampling. Non-random sampling means non-probability sampling. So non-probability sampling, which will be used to you very much all the researchers, quite arbitrary, as the researcher rely heavily on personal judgment only. Non-random sampling method usually do not produce samples, but they are the representative of the general population from where they are drawn. They are called convenience sampling, non-random sampling methods, not they are convenience sampling. For example, if at all you are given one project or something, you will call only your friends and relatives and known people. So that is convenience sampling, which is a non-random sampling. And judgment sampling, for example, now I want to do only in stock market. I will ask the person, only finance person, though there are so many close relatives to me. So I'll judge who would be good for my sampling. That is, and I will quota sampling is again I'll give. If at all I want to try for the fair and handsome, I will quota only male people and I'll try for them. Snowball sampling. For example, what is snowball sampling? I know Preeta madam, and I know Preeti madam. Preeta madam knows some ex-person. So my ball is slowly snowball. I'm telling Preeta madam. Preeta madam said, I know this person who is good at it. So Preeta madam will collect one thing. I will tell Preeti madam. Preeti madam will collect one more person. So that is snowball. Slowly the ball keeps on rolling, 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 and I'll get the sampling method. So convenience sampling, judgment sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling, these are all the method that you will be using for your research. So the sampling is only these things. About these things, whatever I have told, the same thing is being given in this also. So that is all about the sampling which I have to say. Then after that, research design, historical, case research, descriptive or survey research, correlation, and perspective, causal, ex post facto research, time series research, out of which descriptive research you will definitely have it, whether you are going to do correlational, correlational relationship or regression analysis, causal relationship, time series, all those experimental, all those things and all depends upon your sampling which you are doing for that. Then what is historical? To collect and verify the evidence to establish the fact that defend or refute your hypothesis. Whatever you are doing it, about your collecting, verify the evidence, whatever has been done in the past, whether it is denoting the same characteristics and features, then that is historical research. Time series research, generally that will be used for your monthly, quarterly, yearly, all those things and all. This is generally time series research and all for your finance projects. We will use it, all these research and all. Descriptive research, I told you about the unique characteristics of all your people whom you are collecting and all that, this one and all. So what is your population and you are this one. So now this is all about your research. Now how you will present your result, whatever you have done, how and all you are going to do it, because this is also playing a vital role. So just you have to see how you have to present your result. Summarize your finding in the text and illustrative figures and tables. All of you, I told you, tables and figures are to be named, and tables and figures are to be numbered, named. Describe each of your result. Use past tense and put result in logical order. Do not present the same data more than once. Objectively, present your findings and explain what you found. Show your new results are contributing to the body of scientific knowledge. Follow a logical sequence, all those things and all you have to do. Presenting the figure to answer the questions or question or hypothesis. Figure should have a brief description, whatever you are going to do, all those things and all. Conclusion, how you have to conclude, allow you to have a final say on the issues that you have raised in your paper. Summarize your thoughts to demonstrate the importance of your ideas, to propel the readers a new view on the subject. That only will tell you these are all the things that I have not done. So the person who are going to do the research in the next year will see, oh, this person has not done this, so I will do this. This person has done for last year, let me do it for this year. Like that, it will give a view. Do not extend your conclusion beyond what is directed, supported by your result, and avoid undue speculation. Don't use speculative words and all. Please use minimum words in your conclusion. You may suggest the policy of option emerging from your analysis. Outline the next steps for the further study. This is very much important. Then acknowledgement, this and all, already I have told. Those who have helped in your research project, mention how they have helped and thank them. Then references system is name and year system, alphabet number system, then citation order system, this and all, ABCD. You have to give your everything in alphabetical or number system only, that and all. Please follow unscrupulously all those things, because these and all only will take you to the next level. Then you have to do APA format. MLA I have used, please ignore it. APA means American Psychological Association. How they are using that one only we have to use, that is APA format. MLA is modern language association, but we are not bothered about MLA format. We are bothered about only APA format. That one only we have to use it. And this is one of the citation, how you have to use it. Then the last one is all the research products should be written in the third person singular noun. That means you will not write I did it, we did it, you did it. First person, second person is simply no to first person and second person. You have to use only third person. Third person means you will use the word the, either use the word the researcher, the researcher everywhere. And third person singular noun means always the researcher does it. Okay, or present tense or past tense. Generally past tense we prefer, so use the past tense or the investigator. So your project, we don't want to see I anywhere. Okay, that is all about your project. I think I have covered within the time given. Thank you for patiently listening. Thank you, Preeti ma'am. Thank you, everybody. And the other portion, I think what, if you have any doubt, you can ask your mentor, because they are all stalwarts and experts in this particular field. We are just giving only the glimpses of it. Thank you for patiently listening. Preeti, over to you, Preeti.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I hope my slide is visible.
Yeah.
So guys, I hope you have got the background of the research methodology and the scaling and how to collect the data. I am going to cover two important aspects, literature review and hypothesis testing. My focus will be mainly on the hypothesis testing. I'll just spend some 2-3 minutes on literature review, and you can get more information when you actually do it, when you are actually struggling with the collection of the data, collecting the articles on your particular topic, then it will be more clear to you. So literature review can be done in 2 steps. So first step is understanding the concepts and theories related to your topic. So let us say your topic is about customer satisfaction. It's very simplest topic which I am taking the examples. If your topic is customer satisfaction, you have to collect minimum 15 articles on customer satisfaction. So your guide has told you collect 15 articles on customer satisfaction. So what you are going to do is, easiest thing is go to Google Scholar. So there are two ways. So simple is you can go to Google and search for customer satisfaction. That is one way. And the better way is go to Google Scholar. Okay, google.scholar.com. Go to google.scholar.com. And there you have to, there is some typo. So there you have to type your topic of your interest. So whatever is your topic, write the topic. You will get all the articles in the chronological order in the year in which it is being published. Now let us say you are more interested into the recent articles. So you can go to the 2020 articles, and then you can download those articles and cite those. Vijay ma'am was talking about APA format. So what is APA format? APA format is when you write these articles in your literature review chapter, that is chapter 2. So literature review is your chapter 2. When you write this, what they have done in your chapter 2, you have to give the references of it in APA format. So you can go to google.com, you can go to Google Scholar, you can go to Mendeley. So this is the APA format. In the references, last May there will be references. So where you have taken out that information, you have to mention it in the APA format. And now, like, let us say you have done 15 articles. So minimum you have to mention here 15 references. Whatever articles you have downloaded and you have referred, those articles only will come here. Okay, are you understanding this? Don't copy paste anyone else references in your references section. So I have seen my students, what they do is they will copy the references of any other article. So please don't do that. Whatever articles you have downloaded, that articles you have to mention. So this is the name of this is the title. These are the authors. There are 3 authors here. It was published in 2013. This is the name of the journal, volume, page, and this is the link. So you have to write the exact information from where this article has been taken up. So you will not get into any type of plagiarism issues. And then you have to rephrase the content. So whatever content you are taking up from that particular article. So what you have to do, you have to see on the abstract section. So first you have to see the abstract. In the abstract, they must have written what they have done. So you have to see there, then come to the chapter 3, that research methodology chapter, from where they have collected the data. What was their sample size? Okay, what was their sample size? What is the methodology they have used? What is the test that they have done? What were the major findings? So in the chapter 3, that is research methodology part, you will get some content. In the abstract part, you will get some content. Okay, then you will come to the findings. So major findings, there also you will get some content. All together, these 3-4 pages, these 3-4 places, you will get the content for your literature review for that particular article. So like this, you will do 15 articles. Okay, are you getting it? So 15 articles, you have to see the abstract, you have to see the research methodology part, their objectives, how they have collected the data, and what is the methodology, what is the statistical test, what were their findings. All this in one paragraph you will write. By paraphrasing, you have to rephrase it, and then their reference, this is the reference. So you have to cite it in the references last page. You have to write it in the last, in the APA format. Are you getting it? So this is about literature review. More detail, you can ask your guides. They'll help you in this. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the second part. I don't have that much of time. That is about hypothesis. So as ma'am was saying, that research begins with a question. Research begins with a problem, the problem that you want to solve. There is some key issue in the organization that you want to solve it, or you want to find out what is the reason for that, how this problem can be reduced, how this problem can be solved. That is one thing. Research begins with a question. And this also has been told to you that research is a scientific study. So you have to solve this problem. You have to find the solution of this problem using scientific techniques. So scientific techniques, so 2 things you have to guys keep in mind, that there are questions which are unanswered in the research, and you have to answer those questions using scientific investigation. Now, what is hypothesis, ma'am? Ma'am, I don't know what is hypothesis. So your question, your problem cannot be proved or disproved. So what you have to do is you have to narrow down and formulate a hypothesis. The problem cannot be directly tested, whereas the hypothesis can be tested or verified. So I will tell you how you are going to do this. Now I have written some examples, very simple examples. Now let us say some XYZ company is there. Some company is there and the sales of the company is declining. And it's a very important issue or a concern for the marketing department or for the overall organization. People are taking meetings and they are asking why the sales of the company is declining. Everyone is not aware about the reason. So there can be n number of problems. There can be n number of, you cannot just say that sales is declining, that is the problem of marketing department only. But this can be the problem of the quality, or this can be, there can be some other things also. So many factors can be there. So sales is declining, that is the problem, but there can be n number of reasons can be. So maybe the quality of your product is not that good. Now the performance, the machinery which was installed recently is not producing that quality product which used to be produced in the past. So the performance of the product is improved, or maybe the packaging is a problem. It can be anything. Or the competitors are doing aggressive marketing or advertising, but we are not doing aggressive advertising. That is the reason that sales is declining. Or maybe some other macroeconomic factors are there. There can be many macroeconomic factors you can see, like now we have COVID, we have lockdown, we have elections, we have n number of problems which can be there. So what is the problem for the sales decline? You cannot say in one shot. So what, it has to be researched. So there can be various reasons, the marketing related reasons or the product reasons related reasons or packaging or quality. So these reasons can be tested. Now you can test, you cannot test the problem, but what you can test is there can be various questions which can be used to formulate the hypothesis. Is the problem in the marketing department? Is the problem in the advertising expenditure? Is the problem in the advertising campaign which was there? Or the product is not performing because of the quality issues, or the product has become obsolete, it has become old. So what is the reason for the sales decline? So these can be a number of reasons because of which the sales are declining. Now these reasons can be formulated and tested when we are formulating the hypothesis with those, but we cannot directly test the reason for sales decline. So there can be, so in an organization, you people are business management, doing business management, and we know that there are various functional departments. You go to marketing department, you go to HR, finance department, and on the basis of your specialization, do you decide what is that you are going to study. So now you are in the marketing department, you can find out some problem in that department or some issue in the department that you can research. Okay, now let us say HR. So some student is doing internship in a particular company, and he is now interested into HR department, and he say that attrition is there, a lot of attrition is there in that particular organization. So that can be another thing that he can study. So he studied that the people are leaving the organization in very short time, or the trainings are not effective in particular organization. There are various examples that can happen. You can speak to Preeta ma'am or Dr. Litangi. They will be able to give you more examples on that. So you can select any area where you are interested. Now I have written on finance, I have written 3 examples, because being a finance faculty, I have more examples on that. So maybe the finance related things can be the expenses of the company are higher than the sources of the funds. Company is spending more than the sources of the funds. There can be working capital related problem, there can be funding related problem, operational problems. So n number of problems any organization can have, and you are being in an internship, you are going to a particular department, and then you are going to try to understand what are the issues in that particular department, and then on the basis of that you are going to make a report. Okay, so this is I am able to connect this slide with your internship. Now I told you that the problem is that XYZ company's sales is declining, and there can be n number of questions. I have already mentioned these questions, that advertising expenditure can be the question, that advertising expenditure is not good, it's very less. As per the requirement, it is less. Or the campaign which was proposed is not as per the requirements. So there can be n number of research questions. Why the sales is declining? There can be n number of questions. Maybe there is a competition, maybe Chinese products are there, maybe some other new companies are coming up with the competitive products. That can be some reasons. Maybe the branding is a problem. Now we have to rebrand it. So that you have to identify. So sales declining is the problem, and with that problem, we have identified few questions that can be the reason of sales decline. So these can be the reasons. Maybe the pricing of the products are low. That's why the revenues are low. In the product life cycle. So there can be so many reasons. So these are the questions. Now, on the basis of these questions, you can frame a hypothesis that can be tested statistically and scientifically. So the hypothesis has to be tested scientifically using statistical tools. Okay, so there can be a number of hypotheses which can answer these a number of questions. Are you getting it? And for each question there can be many hypotheses. So it's not only one hypothesis can find out the answer of this question. There can be many hypotheses for this question also. So going to the next slide. So now let us say how to frame a hypothesis. All of you know that there are two types of hypothesis, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So when we frame the hypothesis, we say what is the null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is the ideal situation. This is the universal truth. So I will write here universal truth, which everyone knows. There is nothing new in that. Okay, so the null hypothesis is framed keeping in mind the universal truth, and the alternate hypothesis should be opposite to this. Alternate hypothesis is represented by letter H1, HA or HB. This is negative to null hypothesis. So whatever you have written here, usme not laga dena. Okay, so this is null hypothesis and this is alternate hypothesis. Are you able to understand? Is anyone listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So null hypothesis is the ideal situation. So first we frame null hypothesis. So for the same example, I told you the same example. What was the problem? The problem was, so I will write here, the problem was that sales decline of XYZ Limited. Okay. So sales decline of XYZ Limited is the problem, and this problem is being associated with n number of research questions. There can be n number of research questions, the competition, the advertising expenditures, and so many questions. Just now I have showed you. These are the research questions. Maybe the branding can be the reason, or the PLC, the product life, the PLC, all of you know what is PLC. I don't want to talk about it. So all that can be the reason. So I have taken only one research question. So this is I have written research question. So research question is that advertising expenditure and sales revenue. So is the advertising expenditure affecting the sales revenue of a company? This can be researched, yes or no. Maybe this is the reason for sales declining, or there can be some other reason. So this is one research question, and on that basis, we can say that we can formulate a hypothesis. So advertising expenditure, if it is in, we all know that if the advertising expenditure is increased, the sales also, yes, tell me, increases, right? Yes, advertising, as the companies increase the advertising expenditure, the sales also should increase. This is the universal truth. Okay, so on this universal truth, we can frame a null hypothesis. Okay, so in the hypothesis, very important thing is that we must have one dependent and one independent variable. This is another thing that you should know. The hypothesis must have one dependent and one independent variable. So the dependent variable is the variable which depends on the independent variable. So here in this question, what is the dependent variable and what is the independent variable? Anyone can tell me?
independent advertising and sales will be dependent on the advertising.
Yes, very good. So
Yes,
sales,
correct. Very good.
so sales is dependent upon the advertising expenditure. So sales is a dependent variable and advertising expenditure is the independent variable. And now we are going to test scientifically whether there is a relationship between advertising expenditure and sales revenue, sales of the company XYZ or not. So the null hypothesis which I have framed is there is no significant relationship between advertising expenditure and sales revenue. So there is a, 1 minute, there is a relationship between advertising expenditure and sales revenue. So this is the universal truth which all of us know. And what will be the alternate of it? There is ulta of this. So there is no significant relationship between advertising expenditure and sales revenue. So usually we use not and no term in null hypothesis, but this hypothesis is framed, so I have to remove no here. So if they are related to each other, they are related to each other. This is what is null hypothesis. And what is the alternate hypothesis? They are not related to each other. Going to the next slide. Now I've written some null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Just see. Everyone says that there is a relationship between age and conservative mindset. As we grow older, we become more conservative. Is it true or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So unless it is proved, so we say, but someone says it is, you have to prove it. So you will mention there is no significant relationship between age and conservative mindset. And what is the alternate hypothesis? There is a significant relationship between age and conservative mindset. You have to prove it. What you can do is you can collect, you can take the questionnaire and you can take the collect the data from the people of various age. And you can ask the question, and on those questions you can find out whether they have a conservative mindset or not. So this we can test it. So there are various hypotheses which I have framed. You can just go through it later on. I don't have that much of time, so I'm just going to the next. Yeah. Now the hypothesis can be one-tailed or it can be two-tailed. So I will tell you what is a one-tailed hypothesis and what is a two-tailed hypothesis. Everyone says that this is one-tailed. When you see the results, you will say one-tailed or two-tailed. So I will show you this normal distribution curve. So guys, the hypothesis testing, the basic fundamental concept behind the hypothesis is testing is this normal distribution curve. So you can see this is a normal distribution curve. It is a bell-shaped classical curve, and this was discovered by Gauss. And Gauss was a statistician. He got Nobel Prize for this. According to this curve, you can see here in this curve, any naturally occurring phenomena, 99.8% observation lies between 3 standard deviations on the positive side and 3 standard deviations on the negative side. Not understood, ma'am. So what Gauss has said, take any naturally occurring phenomena. Naturally occurring phenomena, you go from your house to your campus. You visit your campus from your house and take out the mean of that. That is the average value of that you take. Ma'am, I take half an hour to reach my campus. So what is the mean? Half an hour. But ma'am, sometimes if traffic hota hai, then I take more time. So how much more time? So that is what. So I am writing, this is the mean value. This is 30 minutes. And if you plot all the observations, your 99% observations will lie between 3 standard deviation on the positive side, that means more than half an hour, and 3 standard deviation on the negative side, that is less than half an hour. So your 99.8% of the observations will lie between 6 standard deviation values, positive side and the negative side of the mean value. So this normally distributed any naturally occurring phenomena, you talk about any naturally occurring phenomena, all the phenomena must follow this distribution. So 98% of the phenomena data will lie between these values only, and 68% values will lie 1 standard deviation on the positive side and 1 standard deviation on the negative side, and 95.4% observations lies on the 2 standard deviation on the positive side and 2 standard deviation on the negative side. So this topic requires full 1 hour to study, so I don't have that much time. I just want to tell you that what is a one-tail test and what is a two-tail test. So when you make your hypothesis, it can be two-tailed or it can be one-tailed. So you can see in this normal distribution curve, when we do the hypothesis testing, we assume in parametric test that data is normally distributed. So data lies in this format, which I have told you, 3 and 3 this side. So this is one tail, one side, okay, and this is another side. So I will come to this slide. Yes, so when we are framing the hypothesis on the basis of alternate hypothesis, we say that whether the hypothesis is one-tailed or it is two-tailed. I repeat again, when we frame the alternate hypothesis on the basis of alternate hypothesis, we frame whether the data has two-tailed or one-tailed. So where I have to see? I have to see alternate hypothesis. Okay. So null hypothesis. Now let us say in MBA 2 class, the average height of MBA students or BBA students is 165 centimeters. Someone said that average height of BBA 2 students is 165 centimeters. So this is the universal truth someone has said. But I don't agree. So I have to disprove it. That means no, a lot of students are tall. It cannot be 165 centimeters. This is what I say and I want to prove. Someone said this, that most of them are 165 centimeters. So this is your null hypothesis. Null hypothesis H naught, mu is equal to 165 centimeters. That is average height is 165. But what can be the alternate hypothesis? Alternate hypothesis is that mu is not equal to 165 centimeters. That means the average height can be more than 165 centimeters or it can be less than 165 centimeters. Okay, so average height can be more than or less than 165 centimeters. So the more than will come on the right side and the less than will come on the left side. So it is having, this is an example of two-tail test. Okay. So this is an example of two-tail test because the average height, you are saying no, it is not 165 centimeters. So it can be more than or it can be less than that, you have not told. So there can be two options. So it can be more than or less than. So it is having two-tailed. This is called as two-tailed test. The other way you can say on the basis of alternate hypothesis, this can be one alternate hypothesis. So I'm writing here number 1. The other person can say the average height of BBA 2 students is less than 165 centimeters. अरे सब छोटे छोटे हैं, उनकी तो height कम है. Someone can say like that. No? So their height is very less. All are short only from this class. So someone said that the average height is less than 165 centimeters. So this is an example of left tail test. Because most of this observation will lie on the negative side, less. So this is a left tail test. Okay, only one thing in the alternate hypothesis has been told, that the average height is less than 165 centimeter. Okay, now next is that someone can say ki, no, you are not right. Someone said the third type. So I am framing alternate hypothesis in three ways. Okay, is not equal to, is less than, or is greater than. Someone said no, all are tall, the average height must be greater than 165 centimeters. So this is the right tail test. So most of the people must be more than 165 centimeters. That's why the average height is coming 165 centimeters. So this is, there are three ways you can frame alternate hypothesis. This is left tailed hypothesis, and we can have right tailed hypothesis. This you can frame on the basis of alternate hypothesis, but not on the basis of null hypothesis, on the basis of alternate hypothesis. So yes, about normal distribution I have told you. So the data is normally distributed. You can do parametric test. So what are parametric tests? Parametric tests are the tests which follow normal distribution. That means the conditions of the normal distribution are met. That means mean value, say 3 standard deviation away and 3 standard deviation less, 99.8% of the observations are like. So this is your parametric data. Okay. So what is non-parametric data? Non-parametric data is which does not follow normal distribution, which does not follow this pattern. Okay, this is the pattern that you are looking for. Sometimes the data is skewed to one side, either right side or left side, then it is called, then we measure skewness. So skewness also, with the help of skewness, you can identify whether the data is parametric data or non-parametric data. Parametric data is the data which is normally distributed. So ma'am, what happens when the data is non-normally distributed? Nothing, no problem. You can conduct non-parametric tests. So there are certain tests which are parametric tests, and there are certain tests which are non-parametric. Then you will look at those tests. Okay, so so all of us know that hypothesis is an assumption. So whatever we want to test, we will make an assumption, and null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis we will frame. So these things you can just see. Now I've shown here. So when the population, when there is more uncertainty, then you go ahead with a non-parametric test. And when you know the standard deviation of the population, and you know that the data follows that classical curve, then you go ahead with the parametric test. And then there are certain other things also to decide which type of test you have to do. As of now, for your level, I am telling this much only. Now come to the other part. Now we are coming to the hypothesis testing part. Now you can see this is the table. Can you see this table, guys? No.
Yes, ma'am.
What about others? I want an answer.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
So this is the table. This is showing population. So a universe. I have assumed that population is a large set of items, that need to be studied. So in this population, I have written X, Y, Z, 3 types of elements I have written. Okay, you can see this. So we have X elements, Y elements, and Z elements, and you want to test something. But you cannot test the whole population. Whole universe is so big. Now people are going to do the testing about the vaccine, the dosage of the vaccine or the benefits which can be we can get it from the vaccine. You cannot study the whole in India की country. इंडिया की कंट्री पूरी पढ़ ली, पूरी की पूरी कितना कोविशील्ड करता है, कितना, no, you cannot do it. It's not practically possible. So what you do is, in certain cases, but in certain cases when the population is very small, then you can study the whole population also. But since the population is very large, what we do is we extract a sample from this. You can see this is the sample. I've shown sample here. So sample is a true picture of the should be a true picture of the population. Now this sample is derived from the population, and now we will study this sample. With this results of the sample, with the results of this sample, we will make judgment about the population. Okay, so now the testing has been done for children. So they have tested only some, maybe let us say some 100 children, 80 children. And on the basis of 80 children result, they will make judgment about whether the vaccine is safe about the children or not. So this is the sample and this is the population. And this sampling can be done using probability sampling technique and non-probability sampling technique, which just now Vijay ma'am has told you. So she has taught you about probability sampling and non-probability sampling. We will go, we assume that you know what is the difference between sample and population. Now we are coming to the very important part, various scenarios of hypothesis testing. Now people, my students will come, ma'am, kaun sa test karu? T kar deta hu, ANOVA kar deta hu. You cannot decide by your own. This is research and has to be done seriously and scientifically you have to do it. So how to decide which type of test you are going to do? So first you have to decide whether your data is a parametric data or a non-parametric data. Parametric data is the data which is normally distributed. So you will take this one. You will do the skewness and lot of parametric test also. There are various tests which you will conduct and you will see where your data lies, whether it is normal data or not. So if your data is normal, then you will conduct hypothesis testing, these tests which I have written here. Okay, and when it is non-parametric test, then you can conduct lot of tests I have written here. Okay, so I am assuming, let us assume, this is my assumption that my data is a parametric data. So what is my assumption? Yes, tell me, what is my assumption?
That your data is a parametric data.
Okay, so my data is a parametric data. That means 99.8% of the data lies between 6 standard deviation away from the mean values, positive side and negative side altogether. So various scenarios of hypothesis testing. First scenario is single sample test. So the first sample is single sample test. So this is my first test. The other type of test that we can do in normally distribution, when this has to be done, that also I will tell you. So the second one is independent sample test. Then third type of test which we can conduct is one-way ANOVA. Then paired sample test. We can conduct correlation, regression, structural equation model. So there are various types of tests that can be conducted under that can be covered under parametric test. So we'll start with a single sample test. Okay. So this is the assumption that my data is what? Parametric data. Okay, fine. What is my data? Parametric data. I know the time is going away. I'll just try to be quick. So first you will decide single sample test. Now we are coming to here. This is what? This is my population. This is what? This is my population and this is my sample. Population and sample. So when we want to test on the basis of sample mean, we want to make inferences about the population mean, then we conduct simple sample test, single sample test. Okay, So on the basis of this sample mean, we can make judgment about the population mean. This is population mean. I'm giving you one small example. I told you that there is a company which is manufacturing bottles, water bottles, and the company claims that the water content in the bottle is 500 ml. So what does the company says that मेरी bottle में 500 ml water है. But someone says no, this company is a fraud company. This is not giving 500 ml water. Not giving 500 ml, that means it is giving more than 500 ml water or less than 500 ml water. That means it is a two-tailed test. So what we can do is on the basis of sample. So this population, they are producing 10,000 bottles in a month. We cannot test 10,000 bottles ka water. We can test only some sample. Maybe let us say 100, 200 bottles, 300 bottles. 300 is a sample. So from that we have taken out the sample of 300 bottles. Inka we will find out the mean. So this will be the mean of the sample. What is this? This will be the mean of the sample, which I have written as mu s. And this has to be compared with the mean of population, which is the assumed mean, that is 500 ml. So on the basis of sample mean, we make judgment about the population mean. This type of test is called a single sample test. Now in this type of example which I gave, that a company wants to test how many, whether the bottle is, they are producing 500 ml or not, they are keeping 500 ml or not. In such type of test where you make judgment about the population on the basis of sample, that means we compare the mean of the sample with the mean of the population, we conduct single sample test. Okay. So this is the null hypothesis. There is no significant difference between mean of sample and mean of population. Okay, so there is no, that means this and this are same. Why significant difference? Significant means we allow some level of error. So this is significant is like, let us say 5% level of significance. I have written 5% level of. So I'm not talking about it. It has to be discussed separately. So 5% level of significance you are saying, that means you are 95% confidence that sample mean is equal to population mean. So 95% you are confident that the mean of sample is equal to mean of, that you have to test. There is no significant difference between sample mean and population mean. And there are various ways you can test. Ma'am, how I can weigh? You can use Excel. So you can go to the data. You can go to data analysis. Just see this. Here a lot of tests are there. You can see we have regression. You can make histogram with the data. A lot of tests are there now. ANOVA, single factor, correlation, relay, regression, and this also single sample test is also there. So with the help of these things, you can find out you can do the testing. Ma'am, output you can get it from the Excel. The second type of test is independent sample test. I will take 10 more minutes and I'll finish it off. In independent sample test, when you have to compare two groups, two categories of people, then you can compare with this type of test. Now let us say someone says that women in medical profession are more successful than men. So we have two type of people. So this is the population of doctors. So we have male doctors and we have female doctors. And let us say success we are measuring with the salaries. Let us say success is not only always about money, but we assume that as an example, let us say we are measuring this with the help of their salaries. So we want to assume, we want to compare whether the male is earning more salaries or female will earn more salary. So this is the population of doctors. From this population, I have extracted the male sample and female sample and find out the mean salary of male and mean salary of female. So these are the two groups. We are comparing two groups, male and female, from this population of doctors. So independent sample test is conducted when we have to compare two group of people, two only, not more than two. So here I'm stressing two. So when we are comparing two group of people from a population, their mean we are going to compare. So whether the mean of salaries of male is equal to mean of salaries of female. Now performance of, now my students had done a research paper in fintech. She compared two fintech companies. So just see, I'm giving you an example how you can compare in your project. So two fintech companies or two product revenues you can compare, or you can compare any two items which you may be interested in. So when you are comparing the mean salaries of male with the mean salary of female doctor, we conduct independent sample test. And what will be the null hypothesis? There is no significant difference between the salaries of male and female doctors. This will be your independent sample test. Ma'am, only two types of people when you are comparing. Now someone wants to compare more than two people. So let us say now when we have more than two categories of people, we have PGDM students, we have MCOM students, we have MBA and PGPM students. Someone says, ma'am, I have done my BBA, what I should do now, or BCom, what I should do now. Someone says you go to PGDM, someone says finish your MCOM, someone says MBA, someone says PGPM. So there are four or more ways you can complete your post-graduation. So ma'am, which is giving me, which will yield me the maximum salaries? So when you have to compare more than two groups, here we have compared only two groups. If you have to compare more than two groups, here I have four groups of people. So I told you that if my student was comparing two fintech companies, the revenues of two fintech companies, she would have done with independent sample test. Now we can see that there are many fintech companies, 4 fintech companies. So when they want to compare the revenues of more than two fintech companies, they can go for one-way ANOVA test. So what is the null hypothesis? The average salary of PGPM student, MCOM students, MBA students are not different. There is no significant difference between the average salaries of 3 or 4 groups. So this is 4 groups. And what is the alternate hypothesis? There is a significant difference between the average salaries of 4 groups. So mu PGPM is equal to mu MBA is equal to mu MCOM is equal to mu. This is your null hypothesis, H naught. Okay, so this is your null hypothesis. So you can test it. Manually also you can test it. You can use Excel, you can use SPSS. You can do in Excel. I suggest for you people, you can suggest MS Excel. One-way ANOVA also can be done here. Go to data analysis, and you can see one-way ANOVA होगा यहाँ पे one-way ANOVA होगा. ANOVA single factor. This is called as ANOVA single factor. Okay, so just click it. They will ask for input range. You select the input range and then do it in you can see in this YouTube में बहुत सारा videos है how to conduct one-way ANOVA in MS Excel. So how to so you see and you can conduct and find out very easy, very easy. Then next is last one. This only I will be talking today. Paired sample test. So paired sample, now HR department. Now come to HR department. We have Preeta ma'am. She has conducted some training. And she has conducted some training now and she wants to know whether the training is effective or not. So this is before treatment and after treatment in the same group. So paired sample test is conducted within the same group before and after. Now you people are doing this, attending my class now. So you are attending my class now. We have this session. Now let us say before this session and after this session, is there any significant improvement in you people or not regarding your research methodology with reference to SIP? If there is an improvement or not. So same group of people, but what is the treatment? Treatment is the session or the training. So especially in HR, this is done. So when you want to test whether that training was effective or not, which was conducted in your department or not. So these are same members. You can see M before treatment and M before. So mu, that means mean score. You can say mean score of people before treatment and after treatment, if this can be tested or not. So you can conduct paired sample test. So I have completed 4 type of tests now. Single sample, independent sample, when we have to conduct 2 tests, between 2 groups. When more groups are there, then we can do one-way ANOVA. And when we have to do before and after treatment, we have. So then we have other things also. We have correlation, regression, we have chi-square test. So many tests are there. So chi-square test is a non-parametric test. Okay, so non-parametric test where we want to, I have written here, just see chi-square only. So chi-square test is the test of association. You want to test whether smoking and cancer, these 2 attributes are associated or not. These are the attributes. Okay, so this type of, when this type of information is asked or the data is a nominal data, then you can conduct the chi-square test. How many people were smoking? How many people had cancer? Now we can conduct the chi-square test. And you have learned how to do chi-square test in your previous sessions, but you can do it in this this one also. MS Excel also you can do it, and you can do it in SPSS also, wherever you want. So on the basis of which you can accept or reject the null hypothesis. So with this, I will end my session now. In case you have anything, you can please ask us. Vijay ma'am is also there. Yes. Thank you everyone for listening so patiently. Thank you everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
actually, one thing I just wanted to add to all the students, I don't know whether in your Excel you may have that data column, and on that you have to do add-ons. If you do the add-ons, then only your Excel will have the data, then you should go for data analysis. That aspect, please bear it in your mind. Just like that, you cannot do it.
So what you're supposed to do is in your Excel, you have to do the add-ins.
Yeah.
Add-ins are there. So
Add-ins
here you
में जाना
file
है,
में
and you
जाना
tell
है.
them.
File में जाना है. And here you have options. In the options, they will ask add-ins. So add-ins. Here you have to select and you have to add the whatever package you want to add. You can add it. It is very simple. You can see. So you can see this application will come. Okay कर देना है बस यहाँ पर, ठीक है?
This is very much essential. Then only you can go for Excel. All of you remember this. Then you do that. Otherwise, you cannot do that. And descriptive analysis, as I said, it is very essential. There also you have to go for data and data analysis, descriptive statistics. For descriptive statistics, again, it will tell you only to take numerics only. It will not take anything. So do it only in Excel. Mandatory is descriptive analysis. After that, whatever test you are going to do, that you have to do. That is according to your hypothesis. You have to perform one tail, 2 tail, all sample test, whatever Professor Preeti has said. This is very important. You need not go for SPSS. Generally, while writing paper also, we also don't go for this much. We will go for only with the Excel, we will do the work. Okay.
So what ma'am is trying to say is, whenever you have a data, put all the data in the Excel sheet. Okay. Code it, put it in the form of numbers, and then create a descriptive statistics table. The way I have told you, go to data analysis, there will be one column from which you can create a descriptive statistics table. Descriptive statistics table will show the data in the condensed format. So you can find out the mean, the average, the mode, everything, kurtosis, skewness, everything, number of
minimum,
observations.
maximum.
So everything you can condense the data and then write the
Eight things will be there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 8 things would be there. That is must. Then only they can go for some other trust. That's what I just wanted to say. Ma'am,
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yes, sir. Please.
Ma'am, regarding, see, that was a wonderful presentation from both of you. That was really very fully explained about every concept. But regarding the sample size, if the sample size is nearer to the population, then only the outcome of the research will be more appropriate. Is it not? So most of the students do a mistake in collecting the samples. They go for their own convenient amount of sample collections. See, at least they should go for minimum 100 samples for irrespective of any study. And there may be some exceptions, just like in case of an HR department or with some executives.
So for marketing, it is advisable that they can keep it minimum 100.
For example, like FMCG goods, they should collect at least minimum 100 samples. That let it be a BBA or MBA, they should collect minimum 100 samples for their research.
I suggest, can you hear me?
Ma'am, your
volume
is low.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I was just saying that if the students want to understand what is the sample size, because they find it difficult in terms of reaching the people now because it's a lockdown. So you can have other ways of doing it. You can just collect some few and then take the multiples of it. So, and mostly it is not going, you will not be reaching correlation and regression analysis, this one test, because it should be more than 350. So you will not reach there. So just don't worry. You're going to be in the primitive and the primary, whatever ma'am has told. So what your duty is now, you should understand that, you know, I can feel your thoughts. Maybe the students will have the feeling that, oh, both ma'ams have done very well, but it was very fast. Now you have the recording. What you should do is make little effort, please. I request all the students to make little effort in going through the PPT that, the recording that they have already done. And the second thing is, like they said, you go into the YouTube videos, everything is available. Just say one tail, two tail, ma'am, they have already explained. But still, if you don't understand, because it's a little difficult, for the first time, you people find it difficult. So go through the YouTube, put your data there in Excel. It has to be in Excel.